Hey, what is up, mortals? Welcome to part 6 of Season 1 What If Deku Was Trained by Aizawa. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So, we begin. Got you. Ajiro's eyes widened, a bright yellow light taking up most of his peripheral view. Frep. Kaminari touched Ajiri and suddenly his body erupted in a stream of electricity coating him. Shortly after the electricity faded and Ajiro fell to the ground unconscious. Ajiro has been captured. All Might's voice sounded through the speakers informing Ada of Ajiro's defeat. We did it, Kaminari said, pumping his fists into the air. Izuku just smiled while restraining Ajiro with the handcuffs. That we did. Now we should go find Ada together. Kaminari nodded and the duo walked up the stairs beginning to search the building for Ada and the bomb. So that's where Kaminari was. I never saw that coming. Izuku and Kaminari, despite having done something that seemed so incredibly simple, managed to surprise and impress their classmates. That damn Deku didn't even do anything. Bakugo grumbled under his breath. Other than glaring at their opponent, Izuku hadn't actually done much. It looked as if he hadn't even originally intended to fight Ajiro in the first place. Smart. Midoriya probably didn't want to waste too much time on Ajiro. Momo observed the screens closely as Izuku and Kaminari got closer and closer to Ida, who was frantically moving about in the bomb room getting ready for Izuku and Kaminari to inevitably arrive. Not gonna lie, I am partially glad I didn't get matched up against them. But part of me also wishes I did get matched up against them because of Midoriya, Kirishima added on. Despite being with All Might in the room, the boy couldn't help but be honest. He was up for a good challenge, but Midoriya and Kirishima just looked like easy pickings. Perhaps you are right, young. Yes, young Kirishima. Anyways, perhaps you are right about wanting to fight Midoriya. There is no harm or foul in wanting to have it easy. But remember, students. All Might paused as Izuku and Kaminari entered the room, which was filled with wooden cargo boxes stacked up in various cubes with Ida standing in the middle of the room. Someone who knows what it's like to feel powerless will improvise. All Might paused again as Ida began a speech of sorts. Haha, heroes. I see you have found the bomb room. As you can see, I have stacked these cargo boxes up in cubes. One of these cubes has the bomb in it. And you pesky heroes will have to get through me to start searching for it. Ada's engine started up and he began to dash towards Izuku and Kaminari, who split up while All Might continued. No matter what, they will grasp onto the power they have gained. They will grip onto it tightly. All Might paused again as Ida targeted Midoriya and jumped into the air, swinging his leg in an arch through the air, aiming for the back of Izuku's head with his engines boosting him. I've got you, hero, Ida exclaimed as his leg was about to collide with Izuku's head. And they will embrace it. And once they have embraced it, they will rise and display the fruits of their labor. All Might paused once again as time seemed to slow down for everyone in the room. Despite how vague it was, the whole class saw something on Izuku's face. They couldn't make out what it was, but his green orbs were following Ada almost perfectly. Are you sure about that? The words reached Ada, and the rest of class wanted just as Izuku lowered his head in time to dodge Ada's attack, wrapping his capture gear around the leg Ada had just used to kick him with. The greenette tugged on the capture gear, planting his feet in the ground while Ada's leg landed on the ground. Now, Izuku yelled out, and Kaminari quickly lunged toward Ada and released a wave of electricity. However, Ada had seen this coming in the first place. Nice try, heroes, but that won't work on me. Ada did a 360-degree spin with his engines still active, pulling Midoriya towards him and in the way of the electricity, effectively using him as a human shield. Gah! Izuku gasped as a wave of electricity shot through him and his body spazzed. Crap! Kaminari yelled out, quickly letting the electricity dissipate. Ada in this moment used Kaminari's distraction to his advantage. Using his free leg, Ada kicked Kaminari's jaw in an upwards kick, knocking him off his feet and unconscious simultaneously. You might have somehow managed to defeat my compatriot, but you never stood a chance against me. Ada began to maniacally laugh, taking his role a tad bit too seriously. What? He took them down in seconds. His reaction speed is so fast. Kirishima and Uraraka both gasped due to the sudden revelation. Ada had practically defeated them in seconds. He took them down in seconds. Asui added in. Bakugo in the meantime just scoffed, turning his head to face away from the screen with furrowed eyebrows and what looked to be a forced smirk. That shitty Deku always has to one-up his opponents. Bakugo mumbled. Some of the students, including Momo, who were closer to him, heard his words. What do you mean? Kirishima asked. And before anyone else could ask the same question, Momo responded. Her eyes widened after having just realized something thanks to Bakugo. Watch closely. Momo's abrupt words caught the class off guard and they all went silent, each and every one of them taking a closer look at the screen. Midoriya's. Asui's words fell short as the whole class realized what had happened. That hurt a bit more than I had expected. Izuku forced the words out as he slowly rose to his feet, catching Ada off guard. You still choose to fight, hero? Ada exclaimed. A short silence befell the room when he saw Izuku's face. Ordinarily, that electric shock would have knocked a human out. Izuku said softly. His bottom lip was bleeding and the dark circles under his eyes had disappeared. But, I'm awake now and all I have to say to you now is checkmate. Izuku smiled and tugged on his capture gear. Intermission. Honey, this video was sponsored by Honey. Honey is a free browser add-on available on Google, Opera, Firefox, Safari. If it's a browser, it is Honey. Honey automatically saves you money when you check out on sites like Amazon, Papa John's, and Kohl's. Wherever you shop, it's a good chance that Honey can save you money. All you have to do when you're checking out at these big sites is click that little orange button, and it will scan the entire internet and find discount codes for you. It takes 2 clicks to install Honey. Now anytime you check out, Honey will scan the whole internet and find coupon codes for you. If there is a coupon code, they will find it, and if there's not a coupon code, you can rest assured that you are getting the best price possible. If you install Honey right now, you can save so much money on your online shopping doing nothing. There's no reason not to install Honey. It takes 2 clicks, 10 million people use it, 100,000 5-star reviews. Unless you hate money, you should install Honey. Use the link in the description to start saving money now. Continuation. What? Ada exclaimed as his legs were pulled out from under him, the hard metal of his hero costume clanking against the concrete floor below them. I wasn't expecting you to react so fast and knock Kirishima out, but what I was expecting was for you to get carried away with monologuing. Izuku confused Ada. They barely knew each other, so how could the Greenette possibly have known what he would do? Minutes earlier. What are we going to do, Mido? Kaminari whispered softly just outside of the entrance to the boom room that Ada had just finished preparing. Mido. Izuku responded in confusion before shaking his head and answering. SHHH, give me a second. Izuku held a hand up, moving his head forward so that he could hear Ida, who was talking to himself. All right, Ida, you must prepare yourself. You need to take this seriously. Ada began to do a series of throat exercises to prepare his vocal cords. Heroes, I see you've arrived. No, that won't do. I need to do something with more edge. Ada pinched his chin in between his index finger and thumb for a brief moment. I know. Heroes. I see you have found the bomb room. As you can see, I have stacked these cargo boxes up in cubes. One of these cubes has the bomb in it, and you pesky heroes will have to get through me to start searching for it. Ida's words fell short at the end, and Kaminari, who was also listening, struggled to hold back a laugh that was beginning to form at the back of his mouth. Yes, and if I manage to defeat them, I should also go on a tangent about how I was able to defeat them. Ada went on to plan out some of his potential tangents, and even Izuku in his tired state couldn't help but smile. Regardless, the Greenette turned to face his teammate. All right, here's the plan. Back in the present, Izuku stood over Ada, using his capture gear to tie his legs together and shortly after using the handcuffs to restrain his hands. Thank goodness you took the role so seriously. If it weren't for that, this fight would have started and ended a lot differently, Midoriya said softly, patting Ada on the shoulder before taking on a serious expression. Now I just need to find the bomb. Izuku quickly searched through the room, gently removing a box from each cube and looking inside of them for the bomb. Roughly 3 minutes later, Izuku found the bomb. The hero team wins, and with less than a minute to spare, All Might spoke through the speakers to the students, and Izuku quickly released Ada before checking on Kaminari, who was slowly waking up. You all right, Kaminari? Izuku's voice had returned to its tired state, and the dark circles under his eyes had partially returned. Yeah, did we win? Kaminari's eyes lit up and Izuku simply nodded. Izuku walked over to Ida and untied him, removing all of the restraints before helping him up and holding a hand out to shake the blue boy's hand. We've both got lots of room to improve. I need to work on putting myself more in the front line and using my body more while minimizing damage, and you frankly, well, I didn't fight you long enough to call out anything, but let's both get better and fight each other again. Ida took his helmet off and smiled, reaching out to and shaking Izuku's hand. You did well, Midoriya, but I'd like to know how you knew that I would monologue. Oh, I have my reasons. Izuku smiled, letting go of Ida's hand after a few seconds, opting not to inform the blue-haired boy of one of his cards. Certainly you could tell them to me, right? Ida asked, but Izuku just shook his head and exited the room, and soon after he exited the building, leaving Ojiro to Ida and Kaminari to set free on their way out. I need some sleep, Izuku said to himself softly when he entered the examination room where the rest of his classmates greeted him. Whoa, I can't believe you managed to turn that around, Midoriya. That was super manly. Yeah, Deku, that was amazing. All the students chimed in, and by the end of it Izuku was left blushing and with a tad bit of a confidence boost. Alright students, that's enough with the comments. Can any of you tell me who the MVP was? All Might spoke once the students had finally quietened down. A small silence entered the room for a moment until Momo raised her hand. Yes, young lady. All Might responded, prompting Momo to speak. I believe the MVP should be Izuku, Midoriya. Some of the students nodded and others who were in support of Ida shook their heads in disapproval. And why is that? All Might asked, prompting the girl to back up her words. Some might think that he should be the MVP because he was on the winning team. However, I believe that Midoriya should be the MVP because he formulated plans and stuck to them, allowing for Tima to execute them properly. All Might nodded, but that wasn't everything there was to it. And is there anything else you would like to call out? Midoriya might have been the leading factor, but I also believe that Ida should be the MVP. Ida is because he took the test seriously. He gave it his all and stuck to his role, preparing the room and hiding the bomb to the best of his ability while also setting it up in a way that would allow for him to fight, even if there wasn't that much conflict due to Midoriya's planning. So then who should be the MVP then? After all, young lady, there can only be one. Momo's words had the whole class thinking. In conclusion, I believe it should be Izuku Midoriya. Although he only restrained his opponents and put his teammate at a huge risk, he calculated the situation and acknowledged his limits. Using that to his advantage, Izuku Midoriya led Tima to victory. All Might nodded. There was nothing left for him to add. He had some advice to give to young Midoriya, but for now he had to focus on the assessment. After that, the next few fights went on smoothly. The boy with red and white hair freezed over the building and won within the first few minutes. Bakugo simply overpowered his opponents and won with relative ease, with the rest of the battles having no eventful moment. Thank you all for sticking around, and I hope that you enjoyed. Before you leave, we would just like to let you know that We The Celestials has many other channels for your entertainment and viewing purposes. All the information you'll need is right below here in the description, so feel free to check out all the other incredible projects our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of We The Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. That's all for today's video, so goodbye and have a divine day.